Here we go again. This is Sam Tolley. I want to talk about another black gatekeeper. Another black Democrat liberal that think he speaks for all of us. Take a look at State Senator from Georgia, Emanuel Jones, real quick. Look at this.
Anytime that we have a resolution, legislation proposing to place a statue of Clarence Thomas on this grounds, we cannot avoid that conversation, so I'm not going to avoid it either. In the black community, we have an expression, and I don't want to use this label too deeply here because I'm just trying to tell you what we have in the African American community. When we talk about a person of color that goes back historically to the days of slavery and that person betraying his own community, we have a term in the black community. That term that we use is called Uncle Tom. And Uncle Tom is either a fictional or non-fictional character. I don't really know the origin of Uncle Tom, but it talks about a person who back during the days of slavery sold his soul to the slave masters. That's the story, the fictitious of the story of an Uncle Tom. So when we think about a person in the black community who's accomplished, but yet policies seek to subvert, some may even say suppress, the achievements and accomplishments of people of color, I couldn't help but to think about that term in expressing my dissatisfaction with this particular legislation.
Now, I don't have a problem with anyone opposing anything because that's your right as a citizen. I have a problem with people saying they speak for the black community. Now, I'm not a resident of Georgia, but the black community is more than just Georgia. And when I get these gatekeepers, or I see these gatekeepers get on TV and express their outrage for the black community, that irks me. Because these folks aren't speaking for me. Now, the State Senator Jones is going to sit over here and he's protesting a statue of Clarence Thomas being placed in the state capitol. Okay, fine. But he goes around and he says that Clarence Thomas betrays the black community. He says that he's an Uncle Tom, and this is what we call folks in the black community. And then he turns around and says, well, he doesn't know what the origin of Uncle Tom is. So this guy is going to sit over here and call himself besmirching someone, but he doesn't even know the origin of the bad name that he's tagging on someone. He doesn't have a clue who Uncle Tom is. But then he's against Clarence Thomas because he's saying that Clarence Thomas is an enemy, basically, of black people. Let me tell you, Clarence Thomas is a pro-life justice. And the justice he took over, that he died, was Thurgood Marshall. And Thurgood Marshall was one of the justices that approved Roe v. Wade. That is abortion throughout the whole United States back in the 70s. And over 64 million babies have been butchered in the womb since that bad law was in place that was just recently overturned. And of those 64 million, almost 20 million of them were black babies. Representative or State Senator Jones, since you care so much about the black family, black people, that's about 30% of the abortions. 30% when black people, according to the 2020 consensus, were about, what, 12.4% of the population. That's almost 3 times the rate or the average of the population. I know you must be one of these people that believe in systemic racism. And let me tell you something about Uncle Tom, who Uncle Tom really was. Uncle Tom is a character. You didn't know if he was fictional or non-fictional. Well, he was fictional. He was a character written about by Harriet Beecher Stowe. He wasn't a sellout. He didn't sell his soul to the slave owners. He was a slave, indeed. He was a slave that learned how to read when it was illegal for him to learn how to read. And he learned how to read the Bible. And he was a Christian that loved God and he loved black people. In fact, just for your information, he died in that book because he refused to tell the master about black folks that escaped from the plantation and went up north to Canada. Uncle Tom was a hero. But see, like most ignorant black people that don't even have a clue who Uncle Tom was, I bet you don't even know that Uncle Tom, the name when it was destroyed and turned into an evil name, was done by communists. Yes, Stalin, the communist people. The Communist Party wanted to separate black people from white folks in America to help destroy America. And a former black communist named Manning Johnson wrote this book, Color, Communism, and Common Sense. And let me read a little caption of what he had to say, what the Communist Party did. He said, in their usually diabolically clever way, the Reds took the name of a fine, sincere, and beloved character made famous in the greatest indictment of chattel slavery and transformed him into a dirty, low, sneaky, treacherous, groveling, sniveling coward. This the Red did in order to make the name Uncle Tom the symbol of social, economic, and political leprosy. See, communism hates God. And communism hates a united America. So they turned Uncle Tom, who was a Christian and a righteous man, into a coward, into an enemy of black people. Now we have black people, even in the highest elected offices, calling people Uncle Toms like you, State Senator Jones, and don't even know what you're talking about. I mean, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But what we need are black folks to stand up to tell the truth who Uncle Tom was, to tell the truth of what kind of person you are, and to tell the truth about these black liberal gatekeepers that try to keep black folks in line. We have to stand up against these gatekeepers. Because either they're ignorant or they are the real sellouts, or whatever they are. They are an enemy to an independent thinking society. Black people are not monolithic. We are different, just like every other race and group of people. And for somebody to stand up and act like they represent all of us is an insult to individuality, to common sense, to Americanism. Now I had to deal, or I tried to deal with one of these gatekeepers back in 2019, because I read an article that was totally insulting to me. So I wrote a response, and I copied this gatekeeper. I never heard back from him. But I'm going to share this article, or excuse me, I'm going to share my response to this article. And I encourage everyone who has foresight, independent thought, to speak up when necessary, when confronting this kind of nonsense, or people like Senator Jones, State Senator Jones, or anyone like him that claims that they represent the black community, or how we're supposed to think. So there was an op-ed written by a Michael, let's see what this fellow say. I think it's Arsenault, and if I mispronounce the name, excuse me. And it was entitled, "The African American for Trump Coalition will be reaching out to you soon. Bless their hearts." This is the title. So I wrote my response on August 17, 2019, and it was entitled, "We Are Not Goofy Negroes." Upon reading the August 8, 2019 op-ed posted on the Essence Magazine website by Marco Arsenault entitled, "The African American for Trump Coalition will be reaching out to you soon, bless their hearts," I was immediately reminded of a scene from the movie Chinese Connection. The character portrayed by Bruce Lee returned an offensive sign delivered to his kung fu school by their Japanese counterparts. The sign read, "Sick Man of Asia." You may ask what the relevance is. I will attempt to state it below, if my goofy Negro mind will allow. After all, according to Mr. Arsenault, I am just another groveling, wayward Negro riding on the Trump hate train. The hatred and bigotry exhibited by Mr. Arsenault in the op-ed toward conservative blacks is surpassed only by his belief that we lack the intelligence to make informed voting decisions or find a good barber. The same man who claims that the president disparages black communities calls all blacks who support President Trump goofy Negroes, Negro League deplorables, and sycophants. The same man who chides the president for telling black congresswomen to go back to the countries they came from called black conservative women baps and buffoons. In the movie, the Japanese bad guys held the Chinese in utter disrespect, void of common decency and civility. Mr. Arsenault rewards black conservatives with the same dishonor in stating, "Do the world some good and curse them smooth out." I do not believe in civility when dealing with sycophants, for the intolerant and utterly insufferable. End of quote. I must applaud Mr. Arsenault because he defines intolerance flawlessly in his own self. I guess his liberal mind, being void of civility, cannot grasp the concept of a rational, reasonable, and respectful conversation with individuals having a different world view. I would hate to think all liberals are incapable of engaging those with opposing viewpoints and do not ascribe to Mr. Arsenault's uncivil solutions. Without conversation, we cannot communicate. Without communication, we cannot exchange thoughts and change minds. It was a bit humorous reading the straw man he attempted to build while rightly highlighting some of the good things President Trump has done for the black community. Yet he also implies that we would be better off without the lowest black unemployment in history, the infusion of millions of dollars into the black community, and the reversal of incarceration laws instituted by Democrats. I would think that by the year 2019, even black liberals would know that the Grand Wizard and other Klansmen were the creation of the Democratic Party. Surely, they would know that Jim Crow and his racist, segregationist tactics are the birthstains of Democrats. Maybe Mr. Arsenault is unaware, or like many liberals, Maybe he wants the labels to be known, but not the wearers. We black conservatives have weighed the cost of our position very carefully. We are not afraid because we believe ourselves to be armed with the truth. We believe in and demand the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We also believe that most black liberals want the exact same things: the right to worship as we please, the opportunity to raise our families in a decent environment, the opportunity to grow economically, and the freedom to choose our lot in life. Unlike our liberal friends, we demand the right to think for ourselves. We detest groupthink and the assumption that we are supposed and required to vote the so-called straight Democratic line. We demand the individual right to pick the person or party we want. We call freedom the right to think for ourselves despite what anyone else thinks. While we believe that liberals in today's Democratic Party are wrong, we respect their right to vote for whomever they choose. We solidly embrace the concept of a two-party system because men are flawed, and without a counterweight, we would lose our balance. What we do not accept is the implication that we are grovelers and psychopaths. We are men and women who can make informed decisions for ourselves. We know exactly what we are and refuse to be intimidated, indoctrinated, or controlled by anyone. Yes, we are black conservatives, and we make absolutely no apologies for it. That was my article, August 17, 2019. You can find it, We Are Not Goofy Americans, on AmericanThinker.com. We got to stop putting up with stupid people. We got to stop putting up with people that think they can control us or scare us or intimidate us or tell us how we're supposed to think or think they represent us. I don't need people like State Senator Jones or any of these other Mr. Arsenal or Sharptons or Jacksons or any of these other folks. I can think for myself. I am my own man, and I'm not going to allow anyone to intimidate me or to put me in a box. This is Sam Tolley. I'm out.